quickly reflect on how we put this thing together. We had a smaller group of primarily Bill, John and I, and that expanded as it was, who met at all sorts of irregular times, lots of Sundays over at Clark's there in the library, and all sorts of breakfast meetings and stuff like that going on, just to keep driving this whole thing forward, not letting it be derailed. But one of the unsung heroes in that, which I just want to acknowledge, is my executive assistant, Kate Wilson, who's sitting down the back. Kate was the one who put all the grunt together in the agendas, the job descriptions and everything like that. So in all these things, you've got all the people out front like we are, then you've got the people down the back in the engine room. So Kate, I just want to say thank you and acknowledge your work for that. And just before I get Bill and John up here, I do want to say what a pleasure it was to work with two leaders that actually shared a vision, shared leadership, and were prepared to make the compromises necessary to get that over the line. My background has been in managing or facilitating many of these. I've done far more that didn't work than worked, so I know the bits that you don't do, and these guys ticked every box on what you do to create a new vision and a new union. Bill and John.
Kia ora again. I can't wait to see what this name's going to be. You know, I mean, the tension on me is impossible. Comms have got this so tied up. Yeah, look, it's great to be here at last. I want to kick right off by thanking our members, our delegates, our conference representatives, our committee members, our council members and forum members, our runanga, our whānau, our governing national executive, because we are thoroughly democratic organisations. We have debated, analysed, argued, deconstructed, reconstructed, criticised, compromised, and ultimately voted overwhelmingly to endorse this merger proposition. And I just want to acknowledge the judgment of our members in that process for their foresight. I want to thank Paul Galter. Paul's talked a bit about the process. Paul, your advice and your input and your guidance has been fundamental in getting here, and I want to acknowledge NZEI and Kate for all of that. I want to acknowledge John Ryall for his leadership and his vision and his utter commitment to his members. And I want to acknowledge FASA President Maya Lubick, because as many of you may not know, under Maya's leadership, this is potentially a three-way merger with the inclusion of aviation flight attendants. The journey started 3 years ago, almost today, with a simple vision: to combine our strengths to create a new, exciting, strong union for the future. To do the work we have to do now to position our union to be effective for the future. We already have the great honour of being leaders of effective large New Zealand unions. We could have rested on that. We could have justified that. We could have managed the status quo. But we can't accept the status quo. Our members are hard-working New Zealanders. They are aspirational. They aspire for a better deal. They aspire for a better deal at work for themselves and for their children. And we know that the world of work is changing fast, and we've got great challenges as we move into the future. A lot of those have been talked about, and they'll be talked about again. Fundamental changes in how work is organised and even engaged in are going to challenge us more and more as we work into the future. We have to stand the test ourselves as unions of those workers working up against that environment. To be democratic, open, accessible, interesting, communicating, relevant, respected, resourced, not divorced. Don't worry. That comes later. We work too hard. Resourced. We have to be strong enough and effective enough to influence the course and content of employment in this country. Change is difficult for many, particularly when you are so loyal to your union identity. But our unions, they were founded on ideals and values of equity, justice and security and stability for working people. And we were grounded, we are grounded in a legacy born out of a history of struggle by the people who built this country. There's no difference between those founding values of our founding members and the values that motivate us into the future. They're exactly the same values. We carry exactly the same values with us into the future. And we're changing our logo, not our legacy. Our proud union history, it centres us, it informs us, it educates us. But it gives us confidence and strength to face the future. But it's the future that beckons us. We're in the future. Thanks for being here on day one.
Tēnā koutou katoa. My name is John Ryall. I was the Secretary of the Service and Food Workers Union in Rangatota. I stand here today as the Assistant National Secretary of the new union. I'm not announcing the name yet. Well, firstly, I stand here with a mixture of pride and expectation. That after 3 years we've finally made it. And it has been hard, and it has been a lot of effort by a lot of people, but I'm very proud of the decision by both of our members, not 50% plus one, but 80-90% of people who supported our vision. Because this is not just about our existing members who voted for it. This is about giving hope to workers throughout New Zealand in terms of not just themselves but their families and communities as well. For the last 30 years, the voice of workers through their unions has been under attack. Not just in New Zealand, but as Helen Kelly said, globally. Our economy has been systematically deregulated and torn apart. Our state assets have been stolen from the people and privatised. While ordinary workers and their families have been told to tighten their belts, tax cuts have been dished out to the wealthiest New Zealanders. In over 100 years of laws promoting the role of trade unions and collective bargaining has been decimated. All these things have seen the transfer of wealth from ordinary workers and their families to big business interests. At the same time, the world of work has massively changed. Large numbers of workers, and we experience this in both unions, are now employed by contractors, subcontractors and labour hire companies. This has created an invisible workforce with no access to collective bargaining and to their real employers, and with very little power to lift wages. And the result of these seismic changes, a massive growth in the wealth gap, with the top 1% owning a staggering 3 times more wealth than the bottom 50% of our population. We're here today because we're committed to changing that. We're not happy with the status quo, we want change. We know that stronger unions are needed to achieve more equal distribution of wealth. We know that stronger unions are needed to exert the political influence necessary to achieve decent social support for those in need. We know that stronger unions give workers a real voice in their workplace and industries. And we know there are tens of thousands of workers out there who want to join unions to get a greater say in their work and better wages and conditions. The new union is up for this challenge. That's the core of our vision and the core of where we want to go. We're not internally focused, we're externally focused. This new union will build power we need to give these workers a voice. We bring a new commitment to organise the unorganised, using our combined power to drive up new forms of organising amongst the new workforce. We bring our experience of building power in the community through the Living Wage campaign and the Campaign for Equal Pay. And we have a rock-solid commitment to working in partnership with faith and community organisations and other unions to change the discussion about wages, poverty and inequality. And we will be a union that has a strong voice in other things. Other issues that matter beyond the workplace. Issues like housing, health, education, and publicly owned services our communities need. Together we have the resources, together we have tens of thousands of active members, and together we have the commitment to transforming the lives of workers, their families and their communities. Together we stand today and move forward to meet this challenge. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou katoa.